Welcome back to the Southern Showdown podcast, previously known as the home of the ice cold takes.
That's right.
It's all right. I went 7-2 this week. Christopher's still struggling a little bit on the picks, but
I went 4-5. I'm 13-25 overall in the SEC. Hey, fade me in the SEC picks. You can make a lot of money.
I mean, I'm only 18 for 20, so we both have losing records on our picks this week. But I'm excited for this week. All 7 games are SEC matchups. We're finally fully into conference play. See what everybody's about this week. So
heck yeah, that's the truth. Let's see what Auburn's about, huh?
Yeah.
Do they want them dogs?
That's where Josh Pate's going on there.
I don't know.
Saturday or whatever.
Saturday. What is it? Every given Saturday tour or something like that.
Yeah.
Man, they're heading down there for the beatdown. Won't they come to Neyland?
I know. They're close to Neyland too.
It's gonna be like we're gonna have a blackout. I mean, the revenge. Come on.
I know.
Come to a real game. Maybe he thinks we're gonna give a beatdown. I hope so. Looking back to last week, Kiffin just runs into the crutch.
Yeah.
Once again, he can't get over the hump, can he?
He's not.
Tell me what's the biggest game that Kiffin has ever won? That just comes to your head.
I have no clue, to be honest.
I don't know if he's even won a big game. Truly, I don't know if he's ever won a big game before. And that's just kind of Ole Miss. They're kind of like that middle of the road team that, they do have some good wins and whoop up on some weaker SEC teams, and they do take care of business, but they can't get the big win. He's never had that big win, and he can't beat Saban. I predicted him. I had faith in him. I had faith in him this past week to go beat Saban, but he just can't get it done. He's still got Georgia on the schedule, so he's got another opportunity for a big win, but that's probably not going to happen either.
Saban's got him whipped. I think the closest Kiffin's got to a big win was his first year in Tennessee and his only year in Tennessee against Alabama. I think that's the closest he ever got to a big win.
Yeah.
But
yep.
That's about it.
That's about it. So, yeah, obviously, like we said, Alabama gets the 2-touchdown win, covers the spread. Alabama covering the spread in the first game of SEC play. I think this might have been the first time they've covered the spread all year long. They might have covered against
I think they
Middle
covered
Tennessee.
They're Middle Tennessee State.
Middle Tennessee State. But they look great in the second half. The team that played USF and then the team that played in the second half against Ole Miss, those are two different football teams.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of how it's going to be with Alabama this year. They're just going to be like a wave. And that wave might crash into the 4-team playoffs, and that wave might crash into 8-4 on the season. I don't know, but that's how they've been. And I already kind of gave my take on Ole Miss, but they'll probably have a great year.
Yeah,
great year. Jackson Dart looks great.
I like the wave analogy you got
the wave there.
Bama outscored Ole Miss 18-3 in the second half. I mean, this is a game where Ole Miss was up 7-6 at halftime. Jackson Dart, while he's looked good throughout the season, he's looked a lot better than most people have expected him to. In this game, he made too many mental errors, I feel like, and that's what kind of gave Alabama the momentum in this game. But Alabama's defense is legit. They have some offensive struggles. Their offensive line is struggling. Jalen Milroe, I don't think he's played a game where he hasn't turned the ball over at least once. And, but their defense is elite. Like, that's the only thing about Alabama I'll say that can keep them in these games. They play the Georgias and Auburns and all these, rivalry games. I know they don't play Georgia this year, but they usually do in the postseason at some point. That's teams that they can beat just because their defense is so good, I feel like. But I don't know. Just like Christopher said.
In the past years, they've had these, past 2 years, they've had these really good offenses and they've had shootouts.
Yeah.
And they've usually been on the upsides of those shootouts. But this year it's a little different. Like you said, the defense is really good, really stacked.
Yeah.
But the offense is going to just have to keep doing what they got to do to put up enough points to get the win. It's pretty tough, but they got a great kid at quarterback running the ball. It just a little worries you when he puts the ball in the air.
Yeah. Milroe is pretty efficient. He was 17 for 21 off his passes, but he at least makes one bad mistake a game.
Yeah.
It's like something mentally he can't get over the hump there, and if he can get cleaner between the ears, Alabama's going to be looking scary again. And,
I might be putting you on the spot. Is he a sophomore or junior?
I think he's a junior, but he could be.
I
want
to say he's a junior too. So.
I want to say he's a junior, but he might be a sophomore.
So he's got all of this year to figure it out, and then maybe this is a rebuild year for Alabama. If this is what a rebuild year looks like, it's not too bad.
Anything I've ever heard from any Alabama fan is we don't rebuild, we reload. That's what they say. But I don't know. I think it might be a rebuild after last year. Yeah. So, all right, let's hop into A&M and Auburn. This is honestly a way more dominant game than I expected out of Texas A&M, especially after Weigman went down. He might be out for the rest of the season, they're saying. The backup, Max Jones, that's his name, right?
Max Johnson,
sorry. He played great. He had 7 for 11, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he came in and he filled that spot well. A&M, they ran the ball pretty handily, to be honest, opened up lanes for him in the passing game, and A&M also had 15 tackles for loss. I mean, wow, 15 tackles for loss. You can't win a game if you're just getting dominated up front like that. And then also Auburn needs to make a decision at quarterback.
Right.
Peyton Thorne is not getting it done.
Nope.
He only had 44 yards through the air. He turned the ball over a couple times. And while he can run the ball pretty well, he cannot throw the ball downfield at all. He couldn't hit water if he fell out of boat.
Pass, dude.
No.
They couldn't. I don't think they had a pass that was beyond 12 yards.
And they got absolutely dominated in the second half. I mean, 21-7 outscored in the second half. It's just a big win for Texas A&M, maybe some positive momentum rolling into the next week, but Auburn's offense has got to figure stuff out, and they need to make a decision on who their starting quarterback is. I don't know if Robbie Ashford's the guy either, but maybe even a 2-quarterback system. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like that, but you got to play to your strengths and weaknesses. And
yeah. There's going to be some changes. I know in the press conference, what's his name?
Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze was questioning the play calls. So, I mean, there's some coaching discrepancies going on there too, not just the players. So he's questioning play calls, and I mean, there's probably going to be some different play calling going on whenever they play Georgia next week. And like you said, they got to get it figured out at the quarterback spot. Who's going to play quarterback? I have no idea, but it probably needs to be somebody different, or they're going to have a long, hard day. Long, hard day at home. But, yeah, when it came to the A&M, Max Johnson, he did come in. He looked great. I don't really think that there's going to be any hiccups transferring from Weigman to Johnson. Sorry for Weigman. Prayers to Weigman. It does. I have read that he's probably out for the rest of the season. But, A&M looks pretty good. A&M looked great in the second half. They put up 21 points in the second half. That was the big, that's the part of this game that when they turned it on and flipped a switch. So.
Yeah, I will say Petrino's got the offense moving a lot better than it was last year. So
I have to agree.
That's good for A&M.
That was like a prediction that I made, beginning of the season. Who's going to call the plays? If it's Petrino, we're going to see a better season. If it's not, we're probably going to see something just like we saw last year. Lots of stellar athletes that just, they're not even putting it together.
All right, let's roll into LSU versus Arkansas next. This was a very good game.
Yeah.
It came down to the wire. This was actually a preseason top 2 quarterback matchup. This was my number 1 versus your number 1, and my number 1 came out on top.
Your number 1 has a better team, man. Who had the better stats?
He also had the better stats.
Okay, because he had a better team. Come on, man. You're going to hit me with that?
This was the 4th consecutive 3-point final in this matchup, in this series. LSU versus Arkansas. It's always tied against these two. LSU, they won 3 in a row, but you can't forget about FSU in week 1 when you're making picks on LSU. Their secondary is very weak, and that just shows in this game. You have KJ Jefferson throwing for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on them. I mean, not to mention they also ran the ball a little bit. And LSU's defense, one positive thing I can say is they tighten up in the red zone. They only gave up – there was 3 red zone trips where they got 3 field goals. So, I mean, if those are touchdowns, Arkansas wins this game. So they got a bend but don't break philosophy, but that's not going to work on everybody. Their secondary has to tighten up. And KJ Jefferson, like I said, threw 2 interceptions. So that
my first pick did let me down.
That really hurt him. those 2 turnovers in a game like this, like we said, whoever makes the most mistakes is more than likely gonna come out on the losing side of this. And another thing about Arkansas, their tight end Luke Haas, he is a dynamic player. He's one of the players that if he continues to develop, he'll be as good as a guy like Brock Bowers. I know it's a bold statement, but he looked electric in that game.
Jesus.
And but
gotta compare this guy to Brock Bowers.
I'm saying if he continues to he's nowhere near.
Brock Bowers is the best player in
He's
the country.
nowhere near Brock Bowers right now, but he is dynamic and he's used as a threat outside
Michael
as well.
Penix, Caleb Williams, who? Brock Bowers for Heisman.
But
pretty sure that dude's got like a 4.0 GPA too. Come on, put that into play.
I'm just saying this kid can be good one day. He can be real
I'm
good.
just messing with you. I'm sure he's good. You know, with the weekends that we're down in Neyland, it's hard to catch all these games on TV. So I didn't get to catch this one. You know, we can catch as much as we can, but I didn't get to catch this one on TV. But you know, looks like it was a great game. You know, Tigers are able to pull it out. They're gonna have a slate coming down the rest of the year. So they got to pull. They're gonna have to get over the hump with Bama and. They want to secure their spot in the SEC championship. So yeah, what we got next?
Rolling into Tennessee versus UTSA.
There we go. There's one I saw.
This one restored a little bit of hope in me as a Vol fan, but also there's still that just questioning because the first half jumped out to a 31-0 lead. It was just dominating on both sides of the ball as we should, and Joe Milton played great in the first half, but then in the second half. It was like a tale of two halves almost. I saw a little bit of that more. I'm up now. There's no pressure. I'm a little timid now. They're starting to do something, so I got to make something happen. It just seemed like, I don't know, Joe Milton just seemed a little more antsy in the second half, and if I need him to clean it up. I need him to clean it up and have a clean game. Just have a clean game. But the first play of the game, he did run at 81 yards for a touchdown. So there's lots of positive to say here, but there's also some negatives that they've got to clean up throughout this week and get ready for South Carolina. And that 81-yard touchdown rush, by the way, longest rush by a UT quarterback ever.
No, that was
I did not know
the
that.
81-yard rushing touchdown was the longest rush out of any quarterback in history.
Really?
Yeah, that was the longest touchdown. And they actually were interviewing Joe after the game, and one of the reporters asked him, it was like the first question, what do you think about now that you're the longest rushing quarterback, you know, you've had the longest rush out of any quarterback in history? And he was like, you just told me. You just told me. I just now figured this out. Or she asked him, how did you react when you figured it out? And he was like, I'm just now figuring it out. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, that was the way to start the game. There's no better way to start the game than watching Joe Milton just run down the sidelines. I'm coming right out of the tunnel looking at it. He's going straight down the sideline, straight to the house. And I just knew it was going to be a good game from there. I mean, the crowd was electric. Everything was electric. And they just kept turning it on that first half. And, I mean, they were just whooping on them. Like Tripp said, the second half was a little bit shaky, but at the same time, we threw in a lot of younger players on defense. We threw in some young guys on offense, and I think we were trying some different stuff on offense. I think they looked a lot better. That's the way to kickstart back into a good feel after that Florida game. So I think Tennessee looked great. You know, it didn't seem like any type of look-ahead spot to the revenge game that's coming up to South Carolina. They look tremendous, and they're going to have to get those types of starts to beat teams like South Carolina, beat these SEC opponents, anybody in the SEC this year. The only team that looks weak to me is Vandy. So to beat any of those teams, you're going to have to get starts like that against better teams than UTSA, and I think they can do it, and I hope they can do it. Keep getting Joe in the run game.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like Joe, seeing Joe be versatile in the run game. Let him throw the deep balls.
Yeah. The play calling
was a lot better.
Is
what I'm trying to say.
Less timid this week.
A lot less timid. I liked it a lot better. I would have liked to see Nico a little more in the second half.
Yeah.
Just to see him, you know. I think we literally started the Nico chant, by the way.
Yeah, I think we did.
Nico came out, and me, Tripp, and our cousin Jesse, we just go, Nico, Nick. And as soon as we did the first one, it grew to like 5, then it grew to like 50, and then it grew to like the entire stadium if you were wearing orange. So that was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
cool.
we started that chant. I hope it didn't rattle Joe by any means. We're just looking forward to what's next.
Yeah. Another thing I forgot to mention, Dylan Sampson played out of his mind, and he got 0 carries against Florida. So what is up with that?
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
Like, I don't understand, why does he have 0 carries against Florida when in week 1 he has 4 touchdowns, and then he comes in this week, has 140 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, literally.
How can you take him off the field?
In Heupel's press conference, he even said, he said how good Dylan Sampson looked, and then he pretty much questioned, I don't know why he didn't play in the Florida game. I'm like, you're the coach, dude.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know why he didn't play? You chose for him not to play. I don't know if he's not the one sending these kids in or what, but he was like, I don't know exactly how to put it, but he was like, for some reason, he just didn't get in that Florida game. I'm like, yeah, we needed him.
Yeah, for sure.
But, maybe, like I said last week, maybe that Florida game was the one to
ignite the fire.
Ignite the fire, get us going. Hopefully we can continue down this road that we've started on this week. So what we got next?
Hop next into Georgia versus UAB. Georgia once again started kind of slow. I mean, right out the gate they scored in like less than 2 minutes. But other than that, it was honestly a ball game in the first half against UAB. It was 28-14 at halftime. They got Dominic Lovett in the game. I mean, like, making plays early on. Very first play, he had like a 30 or 40-yard reception. And, I mean, he's a big playmaker. He transferred from Missouri, and I think that's something they've been missing in their receiving room. I mean, they obviously have Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers, but they hadn't had that just absolute stud athlete, wide receiver one that they can just throw to, especially after Adonai Mitchell transferred to Texas.
Their wide receiver one's name is Brock Bowers.
But UAB.
Just put that kid at quarterback. Put him at running back. Do whatever you want with that kid.
Yeah, for real.
Put him on defense. If you need a stop, I guarantee you, if you need a stop at the end of the game or y'all are going to lose, put him at middle linebacker or something. He'll make something happen. I guarantee it.
Carson Beck and Brock Bowers was a extremely dynamic duo. Beck had like 300-some yards and 3 touchdowns, and Brock Bowers had like 10 receptions or something like that, 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. But one thing in the first half that makes me question Georgia just a little bit is it was 21-7, and UAB was threatening to score, and they threw an interception and gave they weren't threatening to score. They gave the ball back to Georgia inside the red zone. And UAB still ended up driving the field the next drive and scoring again, making it 28-14. I mean, once again, Georgia came out in the second half and dominated, but you don't usually see Georgia giving up 21 points to anybody, much less a team like UAB.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, offense looked much better this week, but the defense was giving up some points to a much more inferior team.
Yeah.
And fun fact, Georgia has won 21 straight games, and Kirby Smart is now 85-15 in his first 100 games, which is
That's
the
a record.
most wins out of any head coach in 100 games. But Barry
Wow.
Bryant still has a better winning percentage, so can't give it to him yet.
A better winning percentage than he has at Georgia?
Yeah, it's in his first 100 games. He's 81-12-7, I think, in his first 100 games. And Saban was 84-16, so he does have Saban beat by 1 game.
But he has better through 100 than Bear Bryant did, right?
Yeah, he has more wins, but
I thought so.
less winning percentage. Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
They are just dominant. That makes you just want to hang your head a little bit. But it is what it is. They are dominant. Maybe we can dethrone them for just 1 game. Just give me a game. But yeah, when you look at the UAB Georgia game, I didn't get to see this one either. I got to see a little bit of the first part of it. So I don't know. They could have been interchanging some young guys playing defense and stuff, because I have no idea how a UAB quarterback is throwing 250 on you and 2 touchdowns. I don't quite understand that, but I have a feeling it could have been a look-ahead spot. Let's look at Auburn a little bit. Like we've said before, Georgia they take care of these weaker opponents every time. Sometimes you'll see them like this UAB game, the Kent State game last year. What is Georgia doing? Oh God, they're letting this bad team do this with them. Well, they're going to take care of business, and they still win the game by 28. That's very comfortable. It doesn't matter, but they ain't even going to let Auburn score 21. I can tell you that.
I don't think Auburn.
UAB scored 21. Auburn don't score more than 10.
That's exactly what I said, Dad, before the show. I said I do not think that Auburn will score more than 10 points against Georgia. That's what I thought.
Me either.
on that note, let's hop into Charlotte versus Florida.
How is this game as close as it? I mean, I'm pretty sure they beat us worse than they beat Charlotte.
They did, I think. No.
What's his name? What's his name that went up for the one-handed grab?
Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall. God bless, dude. Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall with the one-handed snag. That might have been the catch of the year.
Probably. That was insane.
Against Charlotte, and y'all win by what?
15.
15?
They beat us by 13, which should not have happened. I'm still angry about that.
Yeah,
I think
it
was a fluke game, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
have mercy.
Florida didn't really seem all the way together. It's like they just show up for a career day against Tennessee, and then the next week they're back to week 1 Florida. I don't understand that, but I guess when they're on, they're on, and when they're off, they're off. But it could be a look ahead too. That Ricky Pearsall grab was one of the more impressive catches I've ever seen. Trevor Etienne and Montreal Johnson might just be the best 1-2 punch combo in the SEC. And their defense stood strong. I mean, you shouldn't give up many points to Charlotte, but their defense had to stand strong in this game. So they put pressure on the defense, and they still showed up. And their offense only scored 1 touchdown. That's embarrassing.
Really?
The rest of the points came from field goals. 5 field goals.
5 field goals?
5 field goals and a touchdown against Charlotte.
Good Lord.
So that's concerning for Florida. But if they can look anything like the team they looked like last week against Tennessee, they can compete and beat anyone in this league. So I'm not really sure what to think about Florida right now at this moment, but they have the potential to be a great team for sure. Yep,
I'm with you. I'm not going to talk more about Florida because I don't feel like talking more about Florida anymore. I don't like Florida now. So if y'all beat Tennessee, I'm just not even really going to talk much about it anymore. On to Kentucky and Vandy.
Kentucky and Vandy. Maxwell Hairston, 2 pick sixes in this game. That's insane. 2 touchdowns on the defensive side of the ball. It's just a great game.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Kentucky, they jumped out to a hot start.
Awesome.
They jumped out to 21-0 lead. And Vandy just couldn't get anything done on the ground at all, especially in the first half. But Kentucky's lead into the third quarter ended up being 24-0, and Vanderbilt just chipped away slowly at that lead until they got back into the game. But they made too many mistakes, and Kentucky just ran away with it. Like you can't turn the ball over twice and it end up being a touchdown for the defense and think you're going to win this game. But Vanderbilt actually did outscore Kentucky in the fourth quarter, and they put up a fight. But A.J. Swan looks good most of the time, and then he just makes stupid mental errors. He tries to force passes. It's just like rookie mistakes. I think this is one of the more talented Vanderbilt teams I've ever seen. They just hadn't put it all together yet. I mean, I feel like A.J. Swan really could be a good quarterback. He's just got to read the defense better. He's got to go through his progressions a little faster, and he's got to be more comfortable in the pocket and just deliver the ball instead of trying to force stuff and make stuff happen.
Yep. Vandy, why do you do this to me? I don't know why they keep killing me on these spread picks, man. Vandy, I'm picking you like every week and you're letting me down. It's sad at this point. It's just disappointing. I'm not going to go with you this week. I think you'll probably cover the 14. I'm not going to go with you this week. Gosh, the disappointment I have in Vandy. But you're telling me that Kentucky had 2 pick sixes?
Yeah.
So without those 2 pick sixes, I cover.
Yeah.
I mean, what is my luck with Vandy at this point? It's non-existent. That's what it is. Good luck on the rest of the year, Vandy. I hope you go whatever and 3. No, sorry. I hope you go 2 and whatever else. I said that completely backwards. 2 and whatever else. Only 2 wins for you.
All right, let's move into South Carolina and Mississippi State. Something that's a little scary for me is Rattler was very, very efficient. He was 18 for 20 on his passes.
Don't let that scare you. We're wearing all black. We're wearing all black.
Yeah, we're wearing all black. Mark us down for a win.
We're the only thing that's going to be scary in that place.
Mark us down for a win.
Rattler who?
Rat turd, that's what I like to call him.
Hold on.
Number 6 going to eat.
That's who's scary.
Number 6 going to eat.
That's who's scary. That right there is who's scary. Rattler's going to fear this man. He going to dream about this man, have nightmares about Aaron Beasley. Because Aaron Beasley going to be all up in his face. let's just go ahead and get a little pad stat for Aaron Beasley for the upcoming week. We got 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, 7 overall tackles, and he might just get a pick.
That's what you think this week?
Aaron Beasley.
I like it.
SEC Defensive Player of the Week.
Rattler is not at all going to look like he did last week, I don't think. But going on to Mississippi State, they finally let Will Rogers throw the ball down the field. And it turned out Mississippi State played a game with South Carolina.
Turns out they're not that bad.
Yeah, Will Rogers threw for 487 yards, y'all.
What have y'all been doing? Have they been hiding their playbook? Is that what they were doing until now? Hold on. Let's just keep this in. Don't let anybody see. All right, we got South Carolina. All right, open it up.
I mean, they had one receiver who had 256 yards in a touch. Jesus Christ, I completely missed on him. I do a top 5 players of the SEC every week on our TikTok, and I'm going to talk about them later. But I completely missed on that Mississippi State receiver that had 256 yards in a touchdown.
Good Lord.
He's got to at least be an honorable mention. I did not realize that.
What about Leggett? Did Leggett get in there? He had 189 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Leggett also did not get in there. It's I was too wowed by the Carson Beck.
Tripp's too wowed by the fact that I have to put a Tennessee dude in here. I have to.
But
Will Rogers threw for 487, 480. He threw the football field almost 5 times, and you didn't put him in there.
You know what? It's because
Tripp was like, he lost.
He took an L.
Lost, dude.
That's exactly what I thought. I saw that Will Rogers had that good of a game, but he also threw an interception in that game.
Oh God, the dude made one mistake.
And he also took an L. Hey,
so. I feel you. Rogers, you want to get on Tripp's weekly top 5. You're gonna have to win.
Yeah, you gotta win. That was honestly what I thought about. I like last week or the week before, Georgia struggled with some team they shouldn't have struggled with, and I just didn't even look at their game to see who could have made the top 5 because I didn't think that they played good enough as a unit.
Hey, it's your top 5.
It is, exactly. But South Carolina's secondary massacred. Don't worry, Rattler is in there. Rattler was in the top 5.
Yep, sadly.
Dad's over here. He's our behind the scenes guy, and he
just showed us Rattler's QBR, and that thing was 260.5. He might have set a record.
Yeah,
he might have set a record this week.
That is if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, I've never seen a quarterback rating that high.
He completed his first 15 passes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He's 15 for 15. I'm pretty sure. But very exciting game.
Hold on, I'm gonna have to go work out and go try to strap on the pads for Tennessee this week. I wouldn't help at all.
South Carolina run game is really what got it rolling for Spencer Rattler, though. The run game opened up the passing game, which is something South Carolina struggled with because their offensive line has just looked atrocious. So the fact that they got a push up front this week and they got a gritty win over a team like Mississippi State is just some positive momentum moving forward for them. And Mississippi State, they got to look at where they're at and just keep moving forward because tough sledding ahead.
Yeah, and just keep letting Rogers sling the ball.
Yeah,
I mean, Lord
absolutely.
have mercy. If you have one interception in his 500 yards of passing, I think it'll be okay. It's your only chance of winning.
Yeah.
Only chance of winning.
South
they couldn't
Carolina,
run the ball worth of crap.
South Carolina did shut down the run pretty well.
Bless. I know, but Mississippi State really hasn't been able to run the ball all year long, and they just have kept trying it. Well, I don't know what the plan was.
They really didn't.
Have no clue.
They really didn't run the ball that much, though. They only had 15 or 16 attempts, and they passed the ball about 47 times.
At the same time, new coach, new head coach. I mean,
yeah. He's been.
It's time to settle.
He's been in the
system. He's been in the system, but R.I.P. Mike Leach. He definitely had it going on a little better, but maybe they'll get it figured out.
Yeah.
Definitely, our dark horse has let us down.
Last game of this week, we're going to roll into Missouri versus Memphis.
A little too close for comfort on this one, too.
Brady Cook, though, continues to cook. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Luther Burden, dog. He's a freaking dog. He had 10 receptions, 180 yards, something like that.
Brady Cook?
Dog. Their head coach. I kind of like him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's a dog. I don't like Missouri too much because they might do something later on in the year, but their defense forced 2 turnovers in this game.
Are you saying you're worried about Missouri? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm worried about every team in the SEC.
I don't blame you.
Missouri's 4-0 for the first time since 2013.
Really?
It's been
That's a
10
stat.
years since Missouri has started 4-0.
That is a stat right there.
Despite the close score.
They got Vandy next week. They're about to be 5-0. Wonder how long it's been since they've been 5-0.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably been a while.
Probably a while.
But despite this closer looking score with a 34-27, Memphis is not that bad of a team. 1 and 2, Missouri controlled the game the entire game. The close score doesn't really show how much they controlled this game throughout all 4 quarters, and their defense forced 2 turnovers, held them to under 30 points. I feel like that's an okay defensive performance, and it's very promising to see them finish a game. They finally finished one. Last season, they were 2-4 in 1-possession games. So they were right on the edge, but they finally got over the hump. I mean, I know it's Memphis. You don't really want to see that close of a game, but it's promising to see them get over the hump. Could give them some positive momentum going forward as some of these other teams, like I've said.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't looked at Memphis' schedule, but before this game, I know they were undefeated. I don't know if they've had any promising great wins or anything like that, but they were undefeated. That's an undefeated team you just beat by a touchdown. So props to Missouri. They look great this year. They've really looked good. Back to what I said last week, I'm sure none of the crowd is booing Brady Cook anymore.
Yeah, absolutely not.
They screwed up doing that. Can't believe they did that. But I wonder, is Brady Cook in that locker room? Is he like, we want Georgia? We want Georgia. You think he's saying that?
I don't think he's a hype man.
You don't think he's a hype man?
I don't think he is.
I think he's we want Georgia. No, you don't.
No,
No, you don't.
I don't think.
Sit back down. Sit back down where you belong, Missouri. I do think they belong in the top 25, though, for sure.
I think they're
for
ranked
sure.
20.
And that's the team that's
23rd.
liable to pull some great upsets this year. Like, seriously, the defense hasn't played quite as stellar as expected. I mean, they did play a really good game against Kansas State. I thought that Kansas State would score more points than they did. But, who knows? Who knows? What are we climbing into?
That's all for this week, but we're going to try and get each of us have a solo segment. Christopher does his picks over on the TikTok, and every week I make a top 5 SEC players or performers. And I will say I did miss that South Carolina receiver and Mississippi State receiver. Those are definitely 2 honorable mentions. But number 5 this week, I got Dylan Sampson. He had 140 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns.
Dylan Sampson should have been playing in that Florida game.
Should have been playing in that Florida game for sure. And then number 4, a person from that South Carolina game, I got Spencer Rattler, 18 for 20, 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. I mean, it's hard to keep him out of it when he plays like that. It's a stellar performance. What was it, a 250 quarterback rating we just saw?
260.
260. That's wild. I don't know if I've seen one that high. And he just played a great game. Number 3, I got 2 players on the same team, a combo deal here. Carson Beck and Brock Bowers. Beck had 338 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns, and Brock Bowers had 9 receptions, 121 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Get
He was
off
lighting
me.
them up.
Get off me.
And then number 2, Jaden Daniels, somebody who has made the list every single week except for week 1. He was 20 for 29, 320 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. I think this is his 2nd or 3rd game in a row where he has 4 touchdowns or more. And that's just great quarterback play. And he's just been lighting it up all year, lighting up the stat sheet. He's probably going to make a Heisman run late to the end of the season as long as they keep winning. Something about a Heisman is they always at least are 9-3, 10-2, their team is. So LSU as a whole has to keep winning for him to make a run like that. And then number 1, Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky. He had 4 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 pick sixes were vital in that Vanderbilt game because Vandy, the second half, came alive, tried to make it a game, and he made some plays on the defensive side of the ball that helped them just pull away and handle Vandy pretty well.
That's awesome.
That's why I got them. That's why I got him at number 1 for this week.
I dig it.
All right. We're gonna roll into our picks this week. See
Let's
if we can do a
roll
little
into
better.
the picks. Let's see if I can get on any type of roll in the SEC. Take my picks outside the SEC, like I said, but when it comes into the SEC, probably should fade me. I'll start us off with this Arkansas Texas A&M. I'm gonna go with Texas A&M. You know, I'm literally taking the team that I want to take Arkansas, but I've been so bad that I said, I'm gonna take Texas A&M. They got the backup quarterback coming in. I think Max Johnson. They ain't gonna miss a beat. Texas A&M minus the 6.5.
This is where we disagree. I think Auburn. Lord, what am I saying? Arkansas is gonna win outright.
You see how you just fumbled that?
Yeah.
They gonna fumble something too.
Arkansas, I think, is going to win outright because KJ Jefferson, he looked aggravated on the sideline in that game against LSU. They were so close to making a big upset, getting some positive momentum, and just moving forward with their season. I think this Arkansas football team is angry. I think they see what they can be, and I think KJ Jefferson lights up Texas A&M. And I think that they do miss a little bit of a beat with Max Johnson, despite how well he played last week when Wigman went down. I feel like Wigman was playing great, and he was comfortable in that position. So I feel like there's just going to be a little bit of growing pains as he comes in. Maybe in the first half, Arkansas gets off to a hot start, and then Texas A&M can't do enough to come back. So that's what I think.
Can't agree with him. Don't agree. Max Johnson, don't miss a beat. Came in the middle of the game, didn't miss a beat.
Huh?
He ain't missing a beat.
He never started a game, though.
And then next we got Florida and Kentucky. Going to be a great game. This one's going to be a showdown. You know, that's what we thought about the Tennessee-Florida game too, and then Florida kind of just kept going. I don't know if they'll do that in this one or not. It's at Kentucky, but I got Florida. Florida plus the 1. So if Kentucky wins by 1, I'll push. But, yeah, Florida plus the 1. They're going to win.
I agree completely. I'm also taking Florida. Florida didn't play the same way they did this week to the week prior against Tennessee, but I think that they're a better football team than Kentucky. I think Kentucky is only 4-0 because of the weak competition they've played. If you look at the games they've played, they had a game with Ball State in the first half. They barely beat Eastern Kentucky, and they just haven't looked dominant against anyone they've played, even Vandy. I thought they were going to finally get that dominant win, and second quarter, Vandy scores 10 unanswered points and then makes it a game there too. I just think Kentucky's not good enough to beat Florida, in my opinion. If they might prove me wrong, I hope not.
Depends on what Florida team shows up.
It definitely depends on what. If the Florida team from week 1 and this past week shows up, Kentucky might beat them by 2 touchdowns. But if a Florida team that played Tennessee shows up, Florida should control this football game and win, despite being in Lexington.
Next we got is Georgia at Auburn. Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite, and I will gladly lay those points with Georgia. I don't believe that Auburn's going to be able to score more than 10 points. They haven't scored more than 10 points on California, nor did they score more than 10 points on who did they just play?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. So I don't see them scoring more than 10 on Georgia. They are going to try to mix some things up. They're going to try to they have to, you know, if they want to come out with a win in this one. They're going to have to mix some things up, try some things out, but they look weak at the quarterback spot. If you ain't got an offense, you dang sure can't beat Georgia. So,
Well,
Georgia.
we'll say they did barely score more than 10 points against California. It was 14-10 final against California. Yeah. It was 7-10 the whole entire game though, and then they scored late and won. But
14.
Auburn
Still 14 against Cal. Come on.
Auburn is struggling on offense, and their defense. It's not like it's that great either. So I mean, Auburn is just kind of mid, to be honest. Like I said last week, Texas A&M Auburn, it's a mid off, and this week I think Georgia. They probably start a little slow, but ultimately they're going to get the job done. Probably win by 21, 28 points if I had to guess. Just simply because I don't think Auburn can score with them. I also don't think Auburn will score more than 10 points. I think they might score 10 exactly. But I just don't see them scoring 14, 17, and 21. I haven't seen them score more than 10 points against a decent team yet. You know what I mean? So
Georgia covers.
Yeah, Georgia covers 14.5.
Next we got is Missouri at Vandy. Missouri at Vandy. Vandy with the stadium renovations going on. I wonder if their scoreboard's still going to be hanging by two. Well, they have like some teledynes up there. We'll see. Gotta take Missouri because I'm tired of taking Vandy and I'm tired of losing. My picks. Look, I'm 13-25, and like 6 of these picks came from Vandy. So I'm sick of you, Vandy. So I hope that Missouri kicks the crap out of you and covers the 14.
I think that will happen. I think Brady Cook is going to throw all over Vanderbilt. I think A.J. Swan is going to, again, make too many mistakes. And I think Missouri dominates Vanderbilt. I think it'll be much similar to the game against Kentucky, except I don't think they'll only win by 20 because of the 2 pick sixes. I think they will just dominate both sides of the ball. That's all I got to say.
I hope so.
Got Missouri.
Tired of Vandy. Next we got is LSU at Ole Miss. Ole Miss coming off of a little bit of a heartbreak. Like you said, I mean, it was a good game in the first half against Bama, and then they just come out in that second half and get their little fannies whipped. Now they got to play another dog team in LSU who's ready to throw it all over them at their home field. So I got to take LSU. Only 2.5 points. I really don't see why this one's only at 2.5. I think you got a little bit of that Florida State game just kind of lingering, making this thing 2.5. I got this more like a touchdown spread, so definitely going to ride LSU in this one.
I think you have to have that FSU game kind of lingering around because, quite frankly, they just look horrible in the second half. They didn't look like a good football team, and I don't think that LSU is a dog, to be honest. I think LSU and Ole Miss are very evenly matched, and I'm sitting here thinking about home field advantage with Ole Miss. It was kind of a toss-up, but I'm just going with who's the better quarterback, and that's Jaden Daniels. So I'm going with LSU, and I think 2.5 is just a weird spread. Unless they win by like 1 point, I think they'll get them by a field goal at least.
Yeah, I hear you. Next one, this spread also, this one's actually a little bigger than I expected when it came out. South Carolina at Tennessee, 12 points, man. That is definitely bigger than I expected when that line came out. But I'm going to roll with my Vols just because I have to pick my Vols in this situation. I really do think that we can win this one by 2 touchdowns. I think it's a revenge game. Blackout. The biggest thing is the reason that number is that big is because it's at home. And it is a revenge game. It's going to be really, really loud. We're going to be there. The stadium's going to be electric. It's going to be real loud. Rattler's going to have a hard time hearing. Very hard time hearing. If he can pull it out while not being able to hear, then that kid's something. He is an animal, but I'm going to roll with my Vols. Minus 12.
This one's for you, Hendo. We got you back, bud. We got you. I think we're absolutely going to cover that 12-point spread, and it's only because of it's at home and the revenge factor. Everyone on this football team, especially Joe Milton, this is his wake-up game. He better wake up. Because this one's for his brother right here. This one's for his roommate. This one is for Hendon Hooker. It's the game he got injured. It's the game all our hopes and dreams went away. South Carolina's going to get a beat down, and everyone in that stadium is going to be screaming to the top of their lungs. I think we break the decibel record at Neyland Stadium on Saturday.
I was thinking the same thing.
The record is 125.4 decibels, I think so. So I think we might hit 140 decibels at this game.
140.
I do not think
Dear Lord.
Spencer Rattler eardrums might bust.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll hear anybody. I don't think you'll even hear them giving the plays off the sideline. I think you'll have to go over there and get it and then come back.
I don't know about 140, but I think we might break it.
And once again, him right here, he's a dog.
Player of the game.
He's going to be all over Spencer Rattler.
All over Spencer Rattler.
And so is Tyler Barron, and so is James Pierce.
I really, really pray that's the scheme that's coming.
Yes.
There's lots of pressure on Rattler. I mean, if you're going to beat this team, it's going to have to be due to tons of pressure. Get in his face, erupt him, right off the back, right off the rip. Sorry. Gonna have to just pound this dude. I don't care if it's a late hit, dude.
Yeah.
You know, on the first play, if they go drop back pass, I got somebody just laying him out. You know?
Sending a message.
I like dirty football though, so what can I say?
Sending a message, kind of like the 08 Florida team against Sam Bradford's Oklahoma in the national championship game.
Yeah.
When he said he could have got to the ball, but he wanted him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. I agree. Send a message.
Send a message.
I think the getting pressure on Rattler has to be part of the game plan.
It's got to
With
be. I mean,
the offensive line struggles they've had all year. I mean,
that's been our game plan most of these games, so I don't see it changing in this one. Next one we got is Bama at Mississippi State. I'm going to roll with Bama on this one. I know it's a 14.5-point spread. I think Bama shows a little bit more of their dominance in this one. Mississippi State probably is going to let Rogers sling it around again. It's their only chance of doing anything. They better not keep it on the ground because Bama's going to stuff them. But I got to roll with Bama on this one. Taking Bama.
this one has been a toss-up for me the entire time. I've been thinking about changing it multiple times. And some of you probably thinking, why is this even a question? Bama's probably going to whoop up on Mississippi State, but there's just something about last week. Their offensive game plan completely changed from a balanced attack to air raid. And when it did, they threw for 500 yards and made a game with a better team. So I just feel like Mississippi State is not going to get beat by 15 points. I don't know. It's just something. I just feel something. I might be wrong. Last week I said I need to quit going off my feelings and going off logic, and I went 7-2, and I'm back to feeling, and I'll probably go like 2-5. So, but
don't go 2-5.
I got Mississippi
we have a lot
State.
of the same picks.
But I got Mississippi State in this game. I'm gonna stick with my gut. I'm gonna roll with Mississippi State.
All right, so Mississippi State, I need you to fail, and then Arkansas, I need you to fail, and then I can get 2 picks on them, and I'll still be losing.
By 3. Because I got 5 right now, and I still have a losing record. To inside the SEC, it's hard to call this year. Everybody's pretty even though, I feel like.
So now we'll roll to my little
move on to your
TikTok
outside the
part of the show. Chris's picks, 12-5 overall on these picks. You know, I mostly pick outside of the SEC. Pretty good at these picks. Today I'm going with a lot of favorites. A lot of the favorites I'm expecting them to cover. My first one is Washington -17. I feel like they've looked unstoppable. I mean, it's hard to hear that Washington unstoppable.
A lot of people,
they have looked unstoppable.
A lot of people are saying that they're the scariest team in college football right now.
And they looked like the scariest team in college football right now. Michael Penix, absolutely ridiculous. Get Washington -17, and then I got Oregon -27.5 versus Stanford. You know, you just saw Oregon roll Colorado, and people were a little bit too high on Colorado, I would say. They really just beat them up front. The Stanford team is not a good team. I see them doing pretty much the exact same thing and just rolling over. They could honestly be up 28 points in the first half on this team. I do think they'll be beating them by about 21 after the first half. So all I'm going to need, you know, in that second half is just one more touchdown to get this cover, and I expect to get it. The next one I got is Air Force -10. I'm really high on Air Force this year. I wasn't at the beginning of the year, and they've just proven to me they're a great football team. They're great on the ground. Gosh, I mean, they run that option like no other, and their running back's a dog. Their quarterback's a dog. They don't put it in the air very much, but they're not going to have to put it in the air very much this week. They can keep it on the ground and cover this 10. Next I got, this one's tonight, is -6 Jack State over Sam Houston. Sam Houston has just looked terrible all year long. Sam Houston's put up like 10 points or something, around 10 to 15 points in all the games that they've played this year. So I just expect Jack State to be able to go out there and maybe put up 21 and keep Sam Houston to about 7. So Jack State -6. And then the next one, you know, I didn't have this one in the TikTok, but it got brought back down to 14.5, and you're going to have to buy this one down. So you just take out the mortgage or take out a loan on your house. You know, find all the change in the in the couch cushions. Go to your son's and daughter's piggy bank, get all the change out of that, and just put it all on them Georgia Dogs -13.5. Because there is no way that Auburn is going to cover that spread. There's no way. I'm telling you, they're going to keep them to 10. They might keep, you know, it might be 13, or something. There's no way the Dogs don't score, you know, 35 points on them. I don't see how the spread is where it is, and it dropped down somehow, which means some dummy out there is betting on Auburn. I don't know who you are, but you just lost your money. Put it on the dogs.
Something I will say is last week I kind of questioned your Air Force pick because they were playing San Jose State, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched them play against USC and Oregon State, and their quarterback, I think he came from Hawaii. He's pretty good though, so I thought maybe Air Force would have trouble with him, but Air Force's run game is legit.
Yeah, it was a close one in the first half, and then Air Force just dominated the second half. They ended up winning that one. They were only a 3-point favorite in that one. Ended up covering that thing by 25, or they won by 25. So they covered it by 22.
Yeah.
So roll with my picks. I'm hot on the picks right now. You don't stay hot for long. Hopefully you don't get me at the wrong time, but roll with the picks. Keep it going. So I guess that's going to be it for this week.
Yeah, let's get on out of here. See y'all guys.
See you.